Good evening, everybody. All right, if you see the new startup screens and be right back screens and all that fun stuff, some of you might have seen early versions of them a couple days ago. These are still not finished, but I think they're damn close to finals. I want to thank Doxy, Dev, Ruby, and anyone else who helped with the idea that on Friday nights we should have trivia or puzzles, in the screen here, so chat has something to do while we're getting loaded up and getting everything configured. For this one, there's an encrypted string there that people need to decode. One of the things I'd like to say is I really wish I could, tell everyone on Discord that the show is starting, because that usually brings a few other viewers here. But if you might have noticed, Discord just died. Discord is gone. Good times. So no pinging everyone over there. But so tonight we are going to be talking with Mac. I believe Cortaner might have done a bit of a too long and too hard run through on the marathoning, and I think honestly that he might still be asleep. For everyone wondering if Kurt's going to join us, well, I've left him the message that if he shows up at any point, he can. So we'll see how that goes. Maybe. Let's see, is, Discord back? Alright, it is, alright. Let's do that thing. Discord just came back and is working again. Send now. Let's see. Messages. Yay. Good times. All right. So, yeah, everybody. If anyone has copied this down, I think we'll give the first big tip is that it is a word. It is not just another scrambled of text. It is definitely a word. So, everyone, I hope, has that down. We are going to paste it into the chat for everyone. That's the string, and we are gonna go live. Maybe. Where's the button? There it is. All these new screens. All right, let's turn Mac's mic on and let's go. Hey, there we are. All right, everyone. Let's, fix cameras and all the other fun stuff. I was busy working on getting the new videos and whatnot up and running, and forgot to, test the camera setup if, the green screen was working, but seems good. Cool. All right, everyone. All right, everyone. So all of you have seen Mac 100 times, and if you listened to the old podcast, years ago, you heard Mac every episode for hours there.
Only after episode 6, I think it was. Something. There were a few before I was actually in the booth. I was in the production side before that.
Huh. Now the question is, Well, I'm gonna leave the chat and the decoding and all that fun stuff to Doxy in the chat there. But yeah. So what we're gonna do tonight is because Jerry just got it right. Although I think it was I think maybe capital A mattered, and that's maybe why it didn't work or something. I have no idea. But Jerry got it. We wanted the first night to be a little easier than, anything else. So some base 64, some Rot 13, fun stuff. Simple things. Good job, Jerry. But, yeah. So tonight, what we're gonna do is something we've done a little of here and there. We've hinted at some of the origin, but in chat, especially on Discord, people keep asking, "Who is Mac? Why is he here?"
Just this guy. I don't know.
Just this
Why
guy.
am I here? How did I get here? Oh God, I'm bad at computers.
I think one of the things that's kind of standard in this type of a relationship. I don't have that many people like in real life, like that I know personally that live near me that I consider friends. There's few people that stick around for the ride that kind of is my life, right? And it's also not something I'm that good at, like really forming. So for us, if I'm remembering a lot of the early pieces of it, right at protests, it was our wives that actually started talking first and brought us kind of together, right?
To some extent. I guess to some extent, I sort of started to hang out with your wife as well, kind of independently of that, because we have, like we're both tabletop gamers, stuff like that. So we had a lot in common on that front. And I was sort of, if there was someone that actually like had good suggestions, I would offer a person to help like kind of carry it out and kind of encourage the rest of the crowd to do that.
Yep.
So as a result, she was sort of the person that took over a lot of the protests when you weren't there during the period that you were not allowed there. So yes. As a result, she and I often kind of cooperated to encourage people to act in ways that were actually helpful to the protest rather than
just screaming stupid shit.
Yeah, at least to some extent.
Yeah, so one of the things that he said there that is kind of an important piece of context is for the people who don't remember, there was a point during all the Chanology protests where I was banned from actually going outside of the building here in Boston by the courts due to all the fun court troubles they were putting me through. I ended up, getting past that, and it didn't block me from going to their other buildings in other states. So I traveled all over. I went to the LA one, I went to the Connecticut one, the New York one, the Rhode Island. I went everywhere. Like it was actually a lot of fun. But during that time period, my wife, who you've met a couple times on this show, even just a couple weeks ago, she was on, Anna. She kind of took over my duties. Excuse me, my allergies are killing me right now. At the protest, and that was the basic marshaling of things, making sure people went where we had kind of planned, and if we put out a flyer with a set of directions on we're gonna go here, then we're gonna go there, that actually happened. If there was a theme, kind of helping to drive that theme along, all those types of things that I was normally doing that I couldn't do live anymore. And Matt kind of stepped up and was helping with all of that, in that it's really hard to herd cats. It takes a few people trying to pay attention that things are actually going the way they're supposed to. So, that was my first kind of noticing of Mac at all, was that, you were actually getting shit done instead of just standing around. Yes, yeah, so thanks, Ruby. That's awesome. That is awesome. Thanks everyone. I love chat here. All of these people are amazing. But big fan. Doxy is trying to debug the trivia thing, as everyone will note. Night one, trying it out. We've never done this before, so we'll see how that works out. But I'm sure it will be figured out, and then next week it'll just work. Maybe we have to test it a little. But, yeah, I mean, dude, as he said, as the one who can say it, fuck it, we'll do it live. So, I don't know, that's how I roll. I just, we're gonna do it live. So, yeah, so this is way back, I mean, early, Chanology days. We met through protests, and, yeah. You originally, for the beginning of Chanology, were not here in Boston. You were in another city when you started showing up at these things.
I was. I was originally in Philly, that being the nearest city that was doing they had an org, actually, to where I was at the time.
Yep. So what got you into it then? Like, what brought you there? Were you just on 4chan?
So,
Did a friend say it? Like, how did you end up there?
It's so my story there actually is interesting. Goes back a lot farther than Chanology. I was aware of Scientology starting around the year 2000, because this would have been when Battlefield Earth was in sort of the late stages of production, when people were starting to hear like rumors about test footage, but no one had seen the movie yet. One of my friends at the time was, I had a crowd of friends who were big into like bad movies. We watched lots of cult movies. We went to our local video store, went to the cult section, rated that, watched lots of, Mystery Science Theater 3000, stuff like that. So he was like, guys, there's this movie coming out. It's going to be amazing. It's based off of this old pulp sci-fi novel, Battlefield Earth. I'm like, oh yeah, I've heard of that.
And amazing, they meant in air quotes.
Oh, like amazing in the context of we love terrible movies. And so as a result of hearing about this and like why are people making this terrible book into a movie and everything, we ran across an explanation of Scientology, actually Operation Clambake's old website. And so we found out all the stuff about Xenu and all the early OT document dumps that ended up there. And we're like, what the hell is this crazy bullshit? Like, this is insane. How could anyone take this seriously?
Right.
And just kind of laughed about it. And then had a great time laughing at the awful movie when it came out. And we're like, oh, man, look at all these crazy cultists making this and thinking like this was an amazing movie.
Right.
And then just kind of forgot about them. Like, oh yeah, one of those obscure cults. So I knew about their Dianetics and being in the local library. I laughed about that.
Yep.
But I didn't think of anything of it because no one's going after them. Like,
yeah. It wasn't big in the public eye yet because the media was scared of them.
Yeah, and every time the media tried to report on anything about them, they went after them. So that discouraging. But then I heard that actually it was in an IRC channel that I was in at the time. One of my friends there let me know, like, hey, did you hear about this thing they're talking about on 4chan about like, you heard about like the Tom Cruise video? I was like, yeah, that was pretty funny. And like, now they're trying to like take it off the internet, and everyone's just like, nah, we're just gonna post it everywhere. And I was like, that's hilarious. Fuck these guys. And then this one friend was like, well, they're talking about doing actual protests. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? Like,
that's what I thought while we were organizing it.
4chaners.
What was wrong with us?
Yeah. But like, I thought it was hilarious, and it was a bit far to travel to any of them, and I had a work conflict and only heard about it a couple days before, so I didn't attend the first one. But I was in the IRC channel by that point. And then after that, I was able to clear my schedule and make it for the next month. And so it was basically starting the second month of the protests that I was there, actually physically present. And yeah, I was in Philly for roughly the first year. I was at the Over 9,000 March in DC. And didn't really travel to many other, I think I went to like one or two other protests that weren't in Philly at that point, but basically just did that until I came up to Boston.
I do not have highlights in my hair. I'm just randomly kind of getting the salt and pepper look of part gray, part brown, part like darker brown. It is just what my hair has chosen to do. So you end up here in Boston pretty soon after this all starts.
And been a while now.
You've been going to the events in Philadelphia with I mean, they were an interesting crowd. The Philadelphia Anons were definitely an interesting crowd. And
they were
Yeah.
a lot more about the peace and love than many of the other locations,
Indeed.
which was kind of hilarious in its own way, but also like created a very interesting dynamic where everyone thought from other cities were like, look at these idiots over in Philly. And Philly was like, yeah, look at those idiots over in Philly.
Right.
So
Yeah. So you're here now. You're in Boston. You start actually helping out when I get asked to no longer go to their building here. I guess I was interbulating them a little too much. Their own word. And after you and your wife and my wife all start hanging out, we actually get to meet at one of the after events. I believe it was like I couldn't go to the building, but afterwards some people would get together and like grab dinner, and I showed up to one of those. And we just started talking and all that, and it kind of, you were already on IRC, so we were talking a little there.
Yep.
But that's kind of where it all began, and then it wasn't too much longer that we decided that neither of us were doing anything, and we should, like, build websites and shit together. And so we started doing that, and then it wasn't that much longer, you know, that we decided, fuck it, we'll have a podcast. And then we did that.
A few years.
We did that for a little while, but for the most part, you know, I met you through Chanology. And you kind of found all of us through that as well, you know?
Indeed.
And so I'd love to know, like, you know, I have this problem where I know so much about you, and we've been close for so long that I feel like I need chat to come up with any questions they might have about this, because I'm just too close to it.
Right.
So, what does chat?
Yeah, what does chat want to know?
What do you want to know? I mean, in the Discord, I've been asked multiple times by people for a little of this. There we go. The points are working. So, what does chat want to know about Mac? He starts off kind of down this anonymous road with the Philadelphia Chanology protests, and then we end up here in Boston, and then we go from there to doing some kind of local work together, honestly, building like business websites and shit like that, doing other little things, and then we end up just doing all the stuff that you all have seen since then. Can Mac hack?
I suppose that depends on
the definition. How old school is your
yeah.
definition of the word hack? Are you talking hack or crack? Are we talking like 90s, like when we had that battle about which word to use? Because
and like,
yeah.
are we talking? Do I need to find exploits? Are we talking social engineering to get past security measures? Like, what are we talking about?
Mac can definitely social engineer. Mac is programming all these days, but you're actually not like a computer science guy. You are a biology guy.
I am.
So what is your degree?
My actual degree was relating to genetics.
So yeah, so whenever like we're in the middle of conversations and it gets to smart stuff, that's this guy over here. That's why you might also recognize sometimes when we get into some heavier topics, I kind of, hey Mac, what do you think? You know, because unlike me, who didn't really finish 7th grade, this guy went to college for stuff. Like he's the smart one of the friendship. But yeah, so they're asking, what do you think about the RNA vaccine? Is it better?
I mean, it's plenty good. I mean, there's not really any. The evidence that we have on the vaccines is that they're all more or less equivalent. There isn't really a strong difference between the various options that are available. I don't really have much of an opinion there, honestly.
They're all boosters. They all do the basic thing. They all work right. Yeah, I mean, so, and I do want to say to chat, Wednesday of next week is when I get my next. And if my first is any indication on how bad it's going to be, my second is going to be like a week of everything sucking. I don't think I get to have a good Wednesday show next week, but I'm damn well gonna try. We will see how that works out. With the vaccine, I was talking to a few other people about it, and my reaction, being a little stronger than normal, is actually normal for someone who had a very early variant of it. So, because like my actual infection was all the way back in last March, that's why I actually reacted to the vaccine like I did, and my first shot was worse than most people's second shot. So this one is actually supposed to like knock me the fuck out for a week. Some people say like 2 days or so, but I'm expecting a week just to be safe. We will see how I feel. But yeah, that's where we are,
Yeah,
Good
I've got a couple
times.
weeks before I get my second dose, but
Yeah, so
hopefully I
Wednesday
won't
next
get any
week,
serious.
right? So we'll see how that goes. So, you know,
Uh,
what do you do right now? Like, so, we kind of you went off and actually took like a job. Like
I
you
did.
have a boss and shit. Like
I
I can't
sort
I
of
just
do,
sort of,
I
right? Like,
guess.
so what are you
Yeah,
doing now?
it's
You work in your field actually.
I work kind of more peripherally to my field. I work for the company that I work for actually is just starting to do a little that's actual in biology itself, and mostly makes devices used for biology research. And so I'm on sort of the production end there.
So this is a startup company doing new tools and technology for people doing biology research.
Yes.
So that's what this guy works on. Like when I joke about him being the smart one, it's like not actually a joke. Like, turns out to be true. When I run into a math problem and I'm sitting there, even as hacker boy who can do a lot of high level math, I still look over at Mac and say, can you help me through this? Usually it's crazy shit that like isn't normal math. It's like I've got to figure out how these two things intersect and then get them to like crazy stuff. But like it's not like I'm asking him what 5 times 5 is, you know. A lot of series type stuff and things like that I'll go to you for. But yeah, so yeah, someone has to be the smart one, homie. Like we gotta keep that guy around. So yeah, yeah, I've got a tip for everyone. If you have the newest Samsung phone, the new 5G S21, and it's not activated and it's not attached to any provider, and then the person who gave it to you as a gift also gives you the SIM card to put in it so you can start, up an account. Do not put an early 4G SIM card into the Samsung 5G, because then it goes into a 4G mode that it does not want to come out of. No amount of switching to the 5G SIM that they sent me for free, because like Verizon are just like that. They want everyone on their newest service, so it's a SIM card. Who cares, right? So they sent it over. I put it in, and it was still trying to use the 5G SIM card, and the 5G phone is 4G. It would not see the 5G network. I had to reflash the thing from scratch, factory defaults, to get it to forget what had happened. So yeah, just fair warning. If you've got an old 4G SIM card, do not stick it in a new Samsung phone. Yeah, that was fun. Like 4 days of like, why the hell won't this thing work? Ugh.
Good
Yeah.
times.
All right, everyone. Yeah. So, I don't
Let's see.
like. I don't know what else you guys want to know. Here,
I saw a
but
couple questions. Let's
yeah.
see. Is there any cool biotech shit coming out soon? Uh, I mean, there's always stuff that's in the pipeline. It's hard. Anything that's really that cool, it's usually hard to say how long it is till it actually comes out. It's usually a like, there's someone working on this. Maybe in 5 years it'll be ready for like getting through the actual regulatory approval process to be available. Maybe it'll be 10. It's usually very hard to say, especially when you're talking about stuff that's related to humans. Some of the other stuff where there's experimental methods to be better about producing a protein or something through bacterial engineering, sure, their research to produce artificial meat, that might be something that we'll see actually start to work in the next few years. But usually the really cool stuff, it's far enough out that it's really hard to say. I know.
And half of it is really well hidden because they don't want competitors to see what they're doing.
Yeah, they don't want to say anything until they're almost done.
It's like, we're a week away. Okay, now we can tell the world.
Yeah, start hinting about it.
Get the investors happy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what else do you got, chat? We've got Mac here. We've got a bunch of other topics to talk about, but I figured, everyone kept asking, so let's go in the moment when Kurt is getting well-needed sleep. Does Mac own a Guy Fawkes mask? Indeed. In fact, the first time I met you, you were wearing it.
Indeed.
Yes, one of us. Google gobble, one of us. Yeah, so,
yeah, I really like how that worked out with the green screen, too.
Right? Yeah, it just kind of came out of thin air there. That was awesome. Pulls the mask out of the fire. Good times. All right, yeah, so... Whew, let's see here. Yeah, so I would love to talk about some of today's topics because there's some stuff from today that has made me pretty happy. One, the New York Attorney General, and I don't know if anyone saw this one yet, but the New York Attorney General is suing Jacob Wall, the white supremacist disinformation bastard, for $2.75 million for robocalling a bunch of black neighborhoods trying to convince them not to vote. So, voter suppression from the Republicans. Who would have guessed it?
I did actually learn something interesting about Jacob Wall that I didn't know about until a couple days ago.
Oh, yeah?
And that's who his father is.
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard about this?
Yeah, but...
His father is this criminal defense attorney in Riverside, California, named David Wall. But oh my God, his website literally has a graphic on it that looks like it's straight out of Breaking Bad, where it's a picture of him and it says, "In legal trouble, better call Wall."
Yeah,
and he in this page he mentions that like his special emphasis in criminal defense cases is in child abuse hearings. So that's his he's basically Saul from Better Call Saul if his main focus was defending child molesters.
Yeah, that's his thing. That's Jacob Wall's dad there.
It made like I wondered what kind of household and environment produces someone like Jacob Wall, and then I learned that, and I was like, "Oh, that makes perfect sense."
Yeah.
Now I know.
Now you get where he came from.
Yeah.
Whew. And of course, today we learn that the federal grand jury for Derek Chauvin and the other 3 officers has come back with an indictment on them all. So there will be federal charges against all of them, and that's just yes, please.
Yeah.
With Derek Chauvin's sentencing being pushed back for a second time, I'm really happy that there are federal charges coming just to cover all bases here. But yeah, no. The other big news today that I thought was really funny in every day is Punch a Nazi Day news, Richard Spencer's think tank, I believe this came out a couple days ago, but Richard Spencer's, and I say think tank like in air quotes, because like Richard Spencer and thinking don't really go well together, was fined $2.4 million, or was ordered to pay $2.4 million to a man who was injured at the Unite the Right Charlottesville Nazi rally in 2017. Which is just hilarious. And And Charlottesville is still, like, there's still a bunch going on in terms of what's going on there. There is a case that if people want to look it up that is great. There's not a lot written about it, but you can see the case text and everything else. Gilmore versus Jones. And it's a guy who was there who actually filmed Heather Heyer's murder by car, and then posted the video, to which Alex Jones and a bunch of others started reposting it, saying that he was a deep state operative, that he was CIA, that he was all these other things, and that of course he is not. And he's got a defamation suit against them all, and it is continuing to go forward. So we will see where that goes. But I have a bunch of friends in that space who are getting questions, like there are subpoenas flying around towards them and whatnot. So we'll have to see exactly where this goes. But yeah, Alex Jones currently getting hit with a defamation suit just makes me happy. Especially when, you know, it's actually on its way to trial because people believed it was strong enough. Yeah, and yeah, the White Lives Matter people did try to reorganize again. And again, you know, and I say this out loud because it doesn't matter because they're just so bad at this. But again, their entire planning chats and everything else were infiltrated by you know, lefties, Antifa, you know, just were in there, logging everything, telling everyone, and generally doing the work necessary to make sure their organization went horribly. It is unbelievably easy to sidetrack them in those chats. It's as easy as it actually is to sidetrack people in lefty chats, honestly, because like people have really strong bents on their ideologies. So, but over there, it's just they won't get anything done if you just continue to distract them. And Antifa, of course, and others have done this with great skill to great effect. Their next setup didn't end up happening. Yeah. So good times there. Let's see here. The other thing I wanted to make sure we talked about that I think is funny is I'm gonna put a picture up here. And this picture is a tweet from Noah Schachman of the Daily Beast, stating that Melinda Gates and Bill Gates were having trouble for the fact that she hated Epstein, and he wouldn't stop being friends with him and inviting him over and introducing him to people. And so one of the initial rifts between these two was due to his friendship with Epstein. So there you go with that. I think that's interesting. I think that's interesting for a lot of reasons. One of the reasons that I think that's interesting is now that the two of them are getting their divorce, some of her friends think it's okay to talk to the press because that came from some close friends of hers. That's how that actually went down. And so I, of course, asked the Daily Beast if they would please call a new series on all of these leaks that are going to happen about them, Open the Floodgates, to which everyone told me to shut up, which is the correct answer, the correct response to that. But, yeah, you know, it's interesting seeing that she saw it. She saw the problem.
Well, I mean, this was all after Epstein had originally been like convicted in the first place. And,
yeah, all of it afterward, after all.
Yeah,
of the
he was like
everything.
publicly known to be a pedophile.
Yeah.
And then Bill Gates spent like 3 years or something
hanging out with him, flying with him.
Yeah, basically.
He came out to his house. They went on vacation. Like, I mean, it's like, yeah, they were just. And Melinda did not like that. And it drove a rift, and finally there was no recovering from that rift. And who knows what else. I mean, I'm sure she seems like the kind of person that was probably upset about his stance on giving the vaccine patent and IP data to, other countries. Yeah, so anyways, yeah. I'm just hoping that more of her friends decide to talk. I'm also hoping that we get, and I hate that we need these saviors because our society in a capitalist nature is so fucking broken. But I really hope she does what Jeff Bezos' ex-wife has done,
Mhm.
and gives away like tons of money because she's given away over $4 billion in the last year.
And I
Um,
mean, you know, of course, how Bill Gates used to be, and really being with her is what made him the relatively generous, not ruthless capitalist guy that he is
yeah,
ish today.
yeah, I really
um,
think she was the influence for the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation.
yeah, everything I've ever heard on the subject really seems to suggest that.
I think you
So
can tell who he was by his actions throughout the 80s and 90s.
yeah,
Yeah, so because she was not there, they've been together for 27 years, so it was like 94 or so when she showed up, and right around when he started finally doing some philanthropy. So I think it's pretty obvious what went on there.
yeah, and I don't want to suggest in any way that Bill Gates is in fact not a crooked capitalist today. So
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. No, 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 no.
just compared to how he used to be, it's much tamer.
Yeah, you can be the guy who murdered 500 people or the guy who murdered one people. There is actually a difference there. I mean, you're still a murdering piece of shit. Just
Right.
like, there's a subtle difference there. And he went from one to the
Yeah,
other,
yeah.
still hate him. I still want that bus to just hit him right dead center of the street. But there we are. My big question for that whole thing is just what's going to happen to all that money when they split it up with her? Because, as a married couple, they had taken the pledge to with Warren Buffett and everyone else to give most of their wealth away to charity when they passed instead of passing it all on. So we'll have to see how that goes. Um, I mentioned my Android phone earlier, and for all you Android fanboys out there, I'm not a fan of this thing. But what I want to say is update your firmware, update your OS, update everything on your Android phones, because between 30 and 40% of them are vulnerable to a remote exploit that gives people full access to your SMS history, your text history, and your phone history. And also, Live will allow them to connect up and listen to your phone calls. Other than Signal, where they'll just hear noise, but so that's 30 to 40% of all Android phones that have Qualcomm chipsets in them. Yeah, good times there. Everyone update and update now. Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. iOS has one too. I'm just saying update. That's all I'm saying. And the RC against iOS doesn't end up giving you live call data and allowing you to tap into the actual audio of the call. So it is a little bit worse over there. But yeah, it's either way, holy crap, right? Yeah, keep all your shit up to date. Yeah, so what else does chat want to talk about? I mean, normally we have Kurt here tonight to talk about all kinds of fun shit and then to work on into his thing. That's kind of the latest news right now. I don't have too terribly much going on other than that. In sad news, I had a big client that looked like it was gonna actually be my bills for a few months. That ended up in the literal last minute after I'd already done all the pre-research and everything to sell them on the idea of what we were gonna do for their services. Backed out a couple days ago, and that hurt. So if anyone would like to subscribe, that would be cool. Turns out the guy is, a little paranoid about some stuff, and I think based on, what they've been going through lately, rightfully so. I'm not going to judge. I believe, that the circumstances of their life are that I understand decisions being made, but still does kind of suck right now. We'll see if they show back up in the next couple weeks or so and end up deciding to go forward with things. But it was fun getting to learn exactly how to set up a proper anonymous LLC that does that. Because I don't think I talked to you much about this, Mac, but I now know how to set up an anonymous LLC in a state that allows you to set it up anonymously without any of your, you don't even have to give your social. And you get all the details and the logins and all the other stuff to the Secretary of State and everything. Dude, thanks, Ruby. That is freaking awesome. But you get all that fun stuff, and then you have it as a holding company build a company in another state, your state. So the foreign entity that it starts, not you. And that only has its data on it and its registered agent's data. So it doesn't have you either. And the only person who could possibly have your data in this setup is... dude, thanks for all the subs, everyone. This is amazing. Thanks, Quiet One there. But the only one who would get you data in this setup is the IRS, if you chose to get an EIN from them for federal tax reasons. But you don't have to, because there's also private law services that will actually do that for you. And they charge a lot because they're assuming some liability by putting their information on the EIN. But, you know, there's... So in the end, I could have gotten this guy set up with a completely anonymous LLC and a completely anonymous company in another state through 2 different sets of lawyers, a third lawyer that actually is the one who sets up the EIN, and then they all still have so much control over it that literally the person could still sell the thing, transfer ownership, all just fine. Like, but their social and their real name isn't on a thing. And yet they still own all of this. And here's where it gets worse. Because all of that would have been less than $3,000.
You know, just expensive enough to be a barrier for people that don't have a lot of money, and completely inconsequential for anyone rich enough to be trying to protect some serious assets.
Yeah, so the way this would work is, let's say you would like to get to the owner of this company, and you have a legal reason for doing so, so you've got to go through the courts, and right now you're trying to uncover who the fuck is behind this company. You've got to go through lawyer number 1 to find out which company in another state registered the company in this state. And then you've got to go to that state and through their Secretary of State and get a proper subpoena for the information, which will come back with another lawyer, which you then have to get a proper subpoena for or possibly take to court, because the one that I was working with in that state was very clear. No, we go to court. We fight it. It's very hard to get through us. And that's why their prices were, instead of like the $200 we'll set up an LLC for you, it was the $1,200 we'll set up an LLC. That extra $1,000 just covers a day in court because they think it's coming. You know? And then they have to get through that lawyer. So there's client-lawyer privilege here, there's a lawyer-client privilege here, and then from that one, they've got to get to the contact information that they know for you. And that's another, you know, series of court dates and subpoenas and warrants and everything else. So after 3 layers of lawyer-client privilege, they might get to you. It is a hell of a task for anyone to go through that much work to find you. So it's just amazing.
If you have real money, you just go down to like the Caymans, and there's that one building that holds several lawyers' offices. That's the like registered address for several thousand different corporations, because all of those lawyers just do that. All they do are
registered agents for other companies.
That are completely anonymous.
But I learned how to do all of that fun stuff. So so now I think, you know, if anyone wants an anonymous company out there, I'm going to be able to say, and yeah, I know how to do the offshore ones. Those are easy. There's literally just services you call. Exactly. It's just like, instead of like $3K to do what I had just kind of described, you'll be about $35K in to have the basics in place. But yeah, so hey, anyone ever wants an anonymous LLC built from scratch and done right, and not just from one of those web services where you fill out a form, but done right, I can do that now. So I think I'm gonna like put up a little website and say, guess what I can do? We'll see. Yeah, you know, but it did kind of suck losing that job. I was really hoping to get to do that one, because it just sounded like knowledge I wanted to have. And yes, in the chat, 100% right, Doxy, about like that. I mean, that is one of the problems here, and Ruby too. Like, this is totally one of the problems. Like, I should not be able to accomplish that for that price, but there are multiple companies or multiple states here in the United States that allow you to set up anonymous LLCs, and the varying degrees of anonymous kind of lead you all back to something we brought up earlier, which is Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. because the state you want to do the very first registration in is New Mexico. And if anyone remembers, Albuquerque. Yeah. That is where you do the first anonymous piece of it, always and every time, because that state will give you an LLC with complete partnership and protections through a lawyer with no contact info. So thanks, New Mexico. Yeah, like sure. I have to wonder if like they thought about that during like Better Call Saul and whatnot, because that's totally where a lawyer like that should be. Like, really, like, the guy who launders your money needs to be able to set up all kinds of anonymous ways to do so. Yeah, Josh Dugar is facing everything ever because he had hundreds of images of children on his machine, child pornography, and he is fucked. And good. It's taken a long time. People knew the basics of this man, a couple years ago. Yeah. So justice finally setting in there is amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed. Sweet, sweet justice. I don't see too much of that around these parts these days, but I'm gonna call that one. Yeah, exactly. Schadenfreude. Yeah. Right? Good times. Wow. So what else does chat want to talk about? What else do we have out there today? There's just not much going on. Like my next few weeks, I've been catching up. I got caught up all the way up to yesterday on all of the YouTube uploads. So for anyone wanting to watch old episodes, they're all up. They're all on YouTube now. I'm working on some modifications to the website to kind of bring it up to, GreggHoush.com, to bring it up to this new look and feel that we have on the stream. I will probably work with Doxy, because Doxy is freaking amazing. And I'm sure that I am not voluntolding anyone here. I honestly believe she wants to help on this one, so we'll look at some of that. We have some new merch that we're going to put out so people can actually get some of our catchphrases, but we're going to put out some every day is Punch a Nazi Day stuff, and we're going to put out a few other things. But yeah, so you guys will see some more updates to that type of stuff in the future. The indictment, we don't know too terribly much about it right now. It's preliminary, just the indictment happened from the grand jury. More details will be coming over the next few days and few weeks. One of the cool things we have going on next week, though, and I set it up for Monday because I didn't know about Wednesday. If you ever see video or any of the telling of events from Minneapolis protests, you'll see this little white van. And it's just this little white box truck, right? And in the back of it is a giant speaker system. And if you ever see any video from protests in Minneapolis, they've got a speaker system that, like, you can hear 8 blocks away. And they don't give a fuck. The cops come over, scream about, decibel ordinances, and they scream at the cops so loud that it hurts your ears. It's just the best. Well, whenever you see that truck, like, driving at the front of major actions downtown, marches, things like that, you'll see the same 2 or 3 people kind of grabbing the mic behind it, doing the chants with the crowd, dancing to keep everyone's energy up. One of those people is DJ. DJ is freaking awesome. He's that guy at the front of a protest who everyone just is like, thank God that guy's leading the protest. That guy, he's taking us on a path. His chants are great. He's in time. His dancing is awesome. Like, he just keeps the energy going. And at those types of protests, you need that. Like, it sounds almost comical, but you really need that kind of energy to keep people's spirits up during those. Especially the heavier the event is, the more you need that guy. So we have DJ coming on Monday, and we're going to talk about, like, what they're getting done there. Everything from in the streets, what's coming up, all the way to legislation, the protesters and groups they've formed are working to get passed. We're going to talk about all that on Monday, and I think that's going to be great, just to kind of hear what's going on there. If I actually am feeling up for it Wednesday night, which, it might have to be pushed back to the next Wednesday, we've got someone running for State House, running for representative in New York, in Manhattan, who wants to come on and talk about why it's important for us to run, what it takes to actually start running for one of these seats, what you've got to do, how you get set up. the people you've got to put around you, who you contact, what paperwork you've got to file, all the stuff necessary to understand what it takes to run for office, which I think a lot more of us should know how that all works. Because there's a lot of weird stuff. Definitely. Let's see, what's up with the grand jury? Was this off the back of the conviction of Chauvin? Independent. So the conviction there in Minneapolis was the state, was, you know, the state of Minnesota. This is a federal, the indictment today is a federal case by the Department of Justice. So this is a higher court also coming down on them, which means they can both hit them. Yes. Yeah, this because of the charges that we believe the grand jury are doing, there's no threat of double jeopardy or any of the other fun things that, you know, help you get out of court. But the one thing that we will get out of the federal ones is no matter what happens at the local level in terms of a retrial or bad sentencing or anything else, there's going to be another trial that again tries to add more time and more problems for this person. Mm-hmm. And what is even more interesting is if he gets state time and he gets federal time, they don't get served together. Nope. If you get like 2 state charges, you can actually work it in a way where your deal at the end allows you to serve the time together, or at least stagger it a little. So if it's like 5 years on this one and 5 years on this one, you don't serve 10. You might serve like 7 because they stagger it a little, you know? Whereas if it's state and federal like this, you're going to serve one and then get out the door into the other car to go to the other, you know, and you're going to serve that one. You know, if he gets like 25 to life out of Minnesota, and then he gets life from federal, he's done. And that's what we should see. That's definitely how I want this to go. And yet, I find myself on the side of abolish prisons. But we live in a very specific society designed in a specific way, and I think these types of abusers need something, and we don't have anything else right now. We don't have another way to deal with them.
I'm very much in favor of rehabilitative criminal justice system.
But we don't have that right now. I've been I was in federal, Max. There's nothing rehabilitative about it. You're sitting there with a bunch of other prisoners talking about what went wrong, so when you get out, you can do better. Like, there were lockpicks teaching classes in the freaking yard when I was in there to other people. Like, there's nothing rehabilitative about it. They were sharing stories to try and make sure that they could get out and just do crime better. Like, it was crazy.
It is important to note, however, that and this is a lesson I actually learned at a pretty young age, thanks to the sci-fi novel, The Stainless Steel Rat. The problem with learning about crime from prisoners is that prisoners are also the sort of people who got caught.
Yes. Well, so and that's so there was a circle at the prison that I was at that would happen once they were done with being outside, and they had to be inside, and it was right before dinner time. There was an area that was big enough that you could sit about 20 people. And they would sit there and they would tell everyone the ways they've been caught. When they've been arrested, be it this time or others, exactly how they got caught. Who they knew either snitched them out, or how the cop figured out it was them, or what evidence was left behind. They would list off all the ways they got caught, and then they would brainstorm how to deal with that next time, how not to leave that evidence, how not to let that cop find you, you know, how to smell the rat first, you know, all these things. And, you know, I sat in on a couple of them just to, like, hear these stories, and they had some pretty damn good ideas, I gotta tell you. Like, they were really training themselves to get far better at not getting caught next time. It was, again, I mean, it was a wild experience. It was very negative due to, you know, I mean, it sounds almost interesting at that point, but it was very negative. I was in federal maximum security prison, and it was still a daily.
Not a fun time.
It was still a daily. There's, you know, they put me in a bad place with a bunch of bad people. I mean, I was in general with people let out of their cells into general that were murderers, rapists, you know, killers. We had multiple Nazis with, like, just swastika tattoos out, and I was a white guy who was hanging out with all of the people of color. And mostly spending my time with the Chinese and Japanese people. So they hated me. But at the same time, there was a lot of interesting stuff if you paid attention. Just the circles where they tried to figure out how everyone got caught so they wouldn't get caught that way again was crazy. I mean, there were people taking notes. Like it was like real. Like this wasn't like, you know, elementary school shit. This was like college level courses on how I got caught. It was crazy stuff. Ugh.
I don't know. I kind of I think I want the seminars from the people that are like, here's how I saw other fools getting caught.
Right. Well, so the thing about these were that were interesting was like they really knew how they got caught. You know, most of them had been through trials, so all the evidence had come out, all the witnesses against them had come out. So like hearing that side of it was really important because you learned some of the tactics that you might not have known.
That's true.
They even also talked about a lot of the like one of the nights they specifically focused on defeating parallel construction. Like when I say this was like college level like talking they were doing, like they were not just sitting there like, yeah, then my buddy Joe like called the cops on my ass because I didn't pay him for the drugs. No, they were like, all right, here's what parallel construction is and here's how you fight it. And then they would go on to like these like really like professor level kind of talks about it because they'd been in for so long and talked to so many people that had it used against them. I mean, it's just the craziest thing. And for people who don't know what parallel construction is, that's when the cops know a thing, but they damn well don't want to tell the court how they know the thing because it might out a source of theirs or a new evidence collection method that they don't want to have on record because then the criminals would know. What they'll do is they'll find a way to find that same information another way. Parallel construction. So let's say they have your phone tapped, but they definitely don't want anyone to know that they have that. They're going to find someone close to you that they can convert into a snitch that will tell them the same thing that they learned on the phone. And they'll like go to that person and just explain, like, here's what we think happened. Oh, yeah, no, he said that. Okay, great. And then they'll go to the court and say, we heard it from this guy. And they will not mention the fact that they got it off of your phone. Because they don't want anyone to know they can do that. So parallel construction is a bitch of a tool because it allows them to hold on to things that we don't want them to hold on to. You know, I am not honestly against most crime. Just to put that out there, I'm just not. I grew up in a way that didn't really beat that into me. So yeah, it's I'm against, you know, crime against specific persons. I'm against violence against, you know, poor. But like, if you find a way to steal $1 billion from some billionaire, like, please do. Like,
yeah,
oh,
I'm very much on the apathetic end of property crimes.
Yeah.
Like, all right, none of it originated legitimately. It's all been stolen over and over again. Why am I supposed to care again?
Yeah, like, really. I'm glad chat's coming along for this one because, yeah, I think we're all in pretty much agreement. Like, every day is Punch a Nazi Day. So, yeah. Yeah, definitely. Good time. Corporations are not people, everyone. Yeah, so I don't know. I don't have any more notes. We're babbling on an hour in here. We've got Mac for any questions you gotta ask. I mean, get freaky with it, chat. What do you guys want to know? Yeah. Yeah, we can definitely laugh at the fact that Lindell spent all that money on his stupid social media network. Now, when you say he spent all that money on a social media network, I mean, right there, you've already lost the thread because you know what? No. What he did was he spent $1 million for someone to install Drupal, with like no DDoS protection, no rate limiting, no nothing. Like, I mean, it was like almost default Drupal with a couple plugins that added some social to it. It was horrendous. Yeah, like, how do you spend $1 million on a Drupal install? I won't even use Drupal. I just don't get it. Like, I know there are people who live by Drupal, but like, I've never been able to understand why anyone would like that software. It just doesn't work for my head. It's like, you know,
I know what you mean.
It's like I don't understand, and I'll say this, even though it like really dates me, but I don't understand Tumblr. Like, I look at Tumblr and I have no idea what I'm supposed to be clicking on or how to go through it, or like, it makes no sense to me. In that same regard that I just don't get how to use the damn thing, Drupal feels the same to me. Yeah, and nobody ever use Joomla. Please, for the love of God. Please, for the love of God, never use. If there's any Joomla devs on here, I mean, really quit. Go work on better software. Anything else? Literally anything else? Ugh. Am I going to DEF CON? I might. You know, since I will have my second vaccine in time and be over it and everything, I am considering going. I have a couple friends who have ponied up that if I want to go with them, they're still deciding whether they actually want to try and drive the whole thing or whether they want to actually fly it, but they've said they'd bring me along. You know, because I can't afford a trip to fucking Vegas. But, like, the last, like, 8 times I've gone, someone else has paid. Like, 3 of them were documentary teams who were like, we want to film you at DEF CON. If you watch We Are Legion, all of that footage in We Are Legion of me being interviewed is actually at DEF CON. You know? So, yeah, they're doing a hybrid. Some live, some not. Yeah, so, I'm thinking about going. I still haven't fully decided. I was hoping, honestly, that I wouldn't have to make the decision this year because they would still just do it remote, and then I could worry about, you know, next year. But we will see. We will see. Yeah. For anyone not knowing, it's not like it's next week. It's months. Yeah. And if we do, we're hanging out every day. Like, I mean, like, that's just how that goes. Like, there's no version of this where I'm sitting there in Vegas and not hanging out with all my homies who are there. You know, like, let's go. But yeah, good times, good times. Wow. I still think I should, like, come up with another version of a talk that I could give there. I liked my initial idea, but, like, now that it's just been so long and it didn't work out that one time, I don't want to do that one. I want to come up with a different one now.
Yeah, you gotta keep it fresh.
Right, right. Now, I gotta ask, Ruby, earlier you asked if I had highlights in my hair, and I don't, but, you know, were you asking that because you want me to have highlights in my hair? I mean, is this now a fashion blog here? Like, should I, you know, like, do a thing, like, you know, spike it up, all that fun stuff, like, no, I don't know. I literally just run a buzzer through it, like, I literally just have something, and I've got all the little add-ons from, like, 1 to 9, and I just, you know, go through with, like, a 4, and just, like, there you go. Same thing I do here. I literally just run a 4 through it, and I'm, like, done. Star Trek Las Vegas is the week after DEF CON. Oh, come on. I don't know that I can do, like, 2 full weeks in Vegas. Like, I don't have money. Like, if I was just, like, sitting on stacks, like, yeah, I would absolutely. But damn. Why you gotta tempt me like that, Budo? Come on. Come on, everyone. You're killing me. Oh my god. Yeah, Star Trek Vegas is freaking awesome. Good times. Highlights would extenuate your features. You know, I mean, I just don't understand any of that when it comes to, like, hair. Like, just being blunt. Like, when I go to get my haircut, I walk in, I sit down, and I say, do whatever you want. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, I have no idea how to tell you to do anything I would want, and I don't really want anything. I would just like it to be less. And they're like, are you sure? And I'm like, yeah, do literally whatever you want. I have no idea how to tell you what to do. I sound like an idiot talking to you, so just have at it. Like, that's literally what I say to them. Like, I literally just walk right in and sit down and say, this is your job. Like, you probably know what would look best there. Like, just have fun. I'll like it no matter what you do. So, even if it's fucking crazy, like, I'll probably enjoy that. Oh, what do I do in restaurants? I'm the pickiest son of a bitch you've ever met. Matt can attest to this.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. I'm usually the pickiest eater in my group, and any group involving Gregg, I'm the easiest person.
Yeah, well, so we've talked a little about my blood type and a few of the other rarities of, like, just how my body reacts to things. So I don't taste normally. I don't, I have more texture than I do taste. I have super tasting, which is really, it sounds like it's a good thing, and I don't know why they call it super tasting, because it sounds like it's a power. It's actually a very negative thing. It sucks. So like super tasting, one of the problems with my version of it, and my heightened sense of smell related to the food, is I can't have anything spicy. Like, black pepper hurts. Like, if you see little salt and pepper shakers, I'm not talking like fucking ghost peppers. I'm talking standard black pepper is so hot that it hurts me. I eat meat very well done, and I will eat mashed potatoes if they're mostly butter. Um, yeah, very very few things can I eat. No, I didn't burn my mouth when I was young. I just have actual it's a medical thing. And it's related to my blood type. The first few actual like studies that say anything about it only came out like 6 years ago. Like it's still a slightly misunderstood thing. But so I have serious problems eating most foods, and it's mostly down to the texture of the food. I cannot eat fruits. They cause me like serious physical pain. Like I can like suck on an orange, but like I can't like actually chew it. It feels like knives going over my tongue when I do. It really really sucks. Yeah, I mean there's just a lot of things I can't do. What's weird is like I can call things sweet or bitter because I know what they're made of, and I've heard other people say that, but like if someone asks me if something is sweet and I haven't heard anyone else say which thing it is, I kind of don't know. So like I know chocolate is sweet, so like I say sweet when like I'm talking about chocolate, but like I don't actually know what that means. Like, so it's crazy. Oh, what was it like? Okay, so my food in the pen. This is where it gets crazy, right? They feed you shit in there. But if you are the kind of person that has enough people on the outside that are, oh, thanks, Ruby. That's freaking awesome. If you're the kind of person on the outside who has enough of the friends and whatnot that are filling up your commissary, you might be one of the people inside who gets to order outside food in. Not like, Wendy's, but like you can order and they send you these packets of food. And if you're a good little boy, you get to actually use pieces of the kitchen sometimes to prepare your food. So in ours, the people who hadn't been banned from it were actually allowed access to a microwave, and were actually allowed access to a hot plate setup. And when I got there, one of the strangest things that happened after I got out of my 27 days of solitary was that, one, like everyone was like, holy shit, he survived, solitary for that long. I was not understanding of the fact that that meant as much to them for a few days. Because I was still really not there. I mean, they brought me right out literally from the dark into the light and then kind of threw me into general, and then another guard took me down and said, and here's your cell. And I had a cellmate who was a former meth addict turned murderer, who had found God and was being my cellmate because they knew I also wasn't a violent person, and he was no longer, I was told. And it turned out he was a kind of a, like, just a really nice guy, actually. But when I got out, I was in solitary for my first 27 days in federal prison. So I got a pretty light sentence compared to what the feds wanted. And after talking to my lawyer after everything was all over, we believed that the solitary was punitive. It was an attack on me. Due to how lenient everything had gone. Well, I ended up with the strangest judge. I got a judge that on the first day of court in my first trial. I don't know if you guys know this, but a federal judge in federal court in the United States is not allowed to modify their outfit. So that robe cannot be modified. There's no name tags. There's no patches. And my judge has a patch, a NASA patch on the arm. So I don't say anything because I'm not trying to piss off a judge in my damn case. Yeah, it was very personal. So we get the break for lunch, and the prosecutor wants to talk to the judge, and so I step outside with my lawyer, and I'm like, "What's with the NASA patch?" I thought that isn't that illegal? Am I gonna is this gonna mistrial because the judge is being a jackass? He was like, no, do you remember the Challenger, the space shuttle that blew up? Well, the teacher on the Challenger, which made the Challenger even sadder, was his wife. And ain't nobody gonna fuck with him for having a NASA patch on his robe. Yeah, that's why he got to wear the NASA patch and get away with it, because there was no one on this planet who was gonna give him shit for it. It turned out he wasn't that bad of a dude. And I had gone through 7 years of just utter torture with the feds, trying to get me to do all kinds of shit that I wouldn't do. And McAuliffe was my judge. So we're sitting there, and I get a pretty light sentence after the judge berates the prosecution for an hour about the fact that I should have been in front of a judge 7 years ago, that this was torturous process, and he just lists off like 100 things that move me down the federal sentencing guidelines pretty far. And he ended up giving me a Booker variance, which drops me even another level, due to the torturous conduct that I was placed under during this time period. But the feds weren't happy that I got the lighter sentence. They wanted me to get max. I go to prison, and the first thing they do is they throw me right into solitary, and I'm there for 27 days with no explanation. I'm not told why. I am fed randomly. I am not given a pillow. I am not given a sheet. I have a steel slab to lay on. It was 27 days of bullshit. But I mean, like, at this point, I can look back at it and say it's something I've been through. I can think about it. I can reflect on what I went through. Yeah, they kept feeding me just rice. Yeah, they did. They really did. We come to find out later that the warden of this prison and a bunch of the guards did a lot of this type of stuff. It's Devon's here in Massachusetts. And it's where they send a lot of people they're mad at. The feeding randomly was a thing that they do to you when you're in solitary to keep you from being able to track the days. Like, so you can't tell what is breakfast, what is lunch, what is dinner. They don't want you to know how long it's been since you've slept, because it really drives you fucking insane. It's part of kind of the torturous nature of the solitary. So there were random time intervals between my food. So I had no fucking clue whether it was daytime, light, when I had slept. The guards wouldn't talk to me. But I got out. And when I get out of it, I get into General Pop, and I used to play in a lot of local poker games here in Massachusetts. All the underground ones, the clubs, the people's houses where they have like a room in the house that's like 4 tables and real dealers and shit. And I used to pay some of my bills. And actually, still to this day, if the casino would open back up that's down the street, I would be paying some of my monthly bills with the tournaments. But that's all dead right now. I was making, around $2,500, $3,000 a month off of it. I'm not Phil Ivey good. I'm not like gonna make millions off of poker, but I could steadily profit, in the thousands of dollars a month. And so I was doing that. And one of the guys who used to show up to all of those games and was a decent player, this kid, David, but Chinese, he was actually in prison. We didn't know why he disappeared. We had no clue where he'd gone. So I get out into General Pop, and I'm there for like 2 hours when this guy comes over, and he was this little, smaller, even smaller than like me. And you can see, like, I can fit my fingers all the way around here. I do not have like a lot of mass on me, right? He was smaller than me when we were playing poker. He came over to me, and his biceps are like this. And I'm like, wait, is that you, David? And he's like, what are you doing in here, Gregg? You're gonna get killed. And I was like, well, I was in solitary. I don't really know what's going on. Where is here? And he kind of calms me down and starts explaining things to me. And he walks me around and introduces me to everyone. And he's bulked up a lot, and he's working with kind of, they're not like mafia or anything else, but they're definitely the Chinese group who, if the neo-Nazis ever give any Chinese shit, they're the ones who go to battle with them. And he brings over, introduces me to all of his friends, and they've all bulked up a lot, and they're all pretty damn strong guys. And I'm like, I'm only here for a short period, and I don't know what I'm supposed to do, and I don't have any money coming in. And then we talked, and he said, and he remembered, because at all these poker games, you're sitting there all night, and you have to like eat dinner like a lot of the time. So people would like order food and whatnot. I was always the jackass who had to have a special order. They couldn't just order like a bunch of Chinese food and have me eat it. I can't eat any of that. And so he remembered very clearly my problems because it had happened like 500 times in front of him. And he was like, "What are you going to do?" And he starts explaining, and then I'm like, "I've been eating the rice. It hurts. It doesn't feel good, and it's hard for me to get through it." Yeah, I was. They protected the hell out of me. And it was really great. But I explained it to him, and he was like, "Yeah, that must have been hell." Well, we've got money, we get food, and you can have some of ours. And he was actually like their chef. So they would get noodles, because you could actually get like, you know those noodles that come in like a little bag that's like foil, and you put it in water and it has the powder in it already. Yeah, see you, Jerry. And then it kind of becomes like an okay meal. Like they would get those, and they had a few that were like Alfredo and pasta, and I could get through that. It wasn't like, again, my mouth didn't love it, but it was definitely not like, you know, eating, you know, like an orange or something where like it would like literally feel like knives in my mouth. You know, so it was good. I could get it down. I could eat. I wasn't complaining, and yeah, they fed me. They kept me going good, and showed me around and made people understand that I was not to be messed with. We had another guy from one of the other groups, a Polish guy, who also had the same bent. Some old friend of mine from the outside had reached inside and said, "Don't mess with him." So I had this guy who followed me around every now and then, like whenever I went outside, and would just, you know, make sure that no one was looking at me funny. It never led to any fights or anything, but you could tell he was standing like within 10 feet of me, and he would just kind of look at people. And I'm sitting there thinking like, I must look like I'm somebody, and I'm not, like, right? Like I'm just here. But like I just had made like a very strange group of friends. You know, it was a very very strange set of friends that ended up with me being pretty well protected. So my threat was never from other people on the inside. I like didn't think I was gonna get stabbed at any moment. You know, no shanks coming my way. My threat was from the damn guards and the shit that they were putting me through. But you know, I mean, I got out. Whatever. But yeah, eating on the inside, I don't know how I would have survived that. I might have gone on like hunger strike, not for any political purpose, just because if it wasn't for David and his brother was also in prison. He came in about a month after me, and he helped. Yeah, I got very lucky. One of the more interesting things was though is everyone in the wing in where I was put in our cells there were they were aware of the fact that I had been in solitary. And so on my block, like, they all knew, like, what I had gone through already. And I guess there's a level of, he's already been through so goddamn much, we're gonna leave him alone for a little bit. Like, maybe that wears off. Maybe if I was there for a couple more years, they would have stopped, like, giving me, like, a little reverence for it. But, like, yeah, they definitely, were pretty cool to me after 27 days of solitary. Like, maybe it was a cooling off period. Like, they were like, let's wait and see once he becomes him again who he is. Who knows? But yeah, I mean, I'm smiling, but like, it was not a fun time. It was not a fun time coming out, and then realizing where you are. No computers, no nothing. They did have a typewriter in the library that I could get access to once a week and type on, which I had no reason to use. But yeah, learned all about the prison economy. I learned all about all kinds of fun stuff. I learned how to fish from cell to cell with the way you actually trade things even after it's nighttime and you're supposed to be asleep and all the guards are keeping the lights off. You can still get stuff between cells because you unwind a bed sheet and tie it into a thick twine. With multiple, you know, strands of it until you get something that's so strong that it's like you could, you know, do this with it and it doesn't snap, you know. And then on the end, you take usually what you would take to give it a little bit of weight is your old toothpaste. You would wrap it around that with just a little left in it, and then fold the foil of the toothpaste container around it, so you had a thing that could flatten down pretty flat but had a little weight. And then you would get on the floor because there's about that much room under the cell. Under the bars there, and you would actually spin it. So you're doing this with it on the floor, and the toothpaste is doing this, and you spin until it's going really fast. Then you let go, and you grab the other end of it, and it would fly out of your cell. And if you were good at it, when you let go, it would aim for the cell you needed to aim for, or it would aim like right across from that cell because he's over here behind you, and that guy would then spin it and throw it to him, and then that guy over here, like 3 down from you, would just tie something to the end of it, usually like a magazine, a newspaper, you know, no major contraband, and they would push it out underneath, and then you would just drag it back in. And the game was, the guards were actually surprisingly cool about this one game. Like, I think they actually were as bored as some of us were sometimes in the middle of the night. They wouldn't come into your cell and fuck with you for it. What they would do instead is, they would try and get it before you got it back in your cell, but it was almost like hide and seek, like base. Like, if you were pulling the string and they were going for it and you got it under your cell before the guard grabbed it, they would just shrug it off and say, fuck it, and walk off. But if they got it beforehand, then they would also jerk the fish out from your hand, and walk away. It was always weird to me that they let us get away with that, like some kind of like a game we were playing with them. I thought, you know, at one point they were just gonna like, you know, go through the door and like, you know, and take the shit from me, but no. So everyone, you weren't allowed to get like multiple subscriptions to things. So I had a USA Today subscription coming in because my block didn't have that yet, and they asked, do you have anyone on the outside who would get you a newspaper subscription? Great, get this one. We don't have this one yet. And then someone had a New York Times one. Someone had like, I mean, this was like, you know, '07. So like the Maxim magazine was one of them. Auto Trader, because everyone liked looking at cars. So we had like, everyone had their one subscription, and then we all just passed the stuff around. So we all had like 20 different subscriptions. It was kind of, it was an interesting, like the whole economy in there was really weird. What was worth what, like what you could trade from the commissary for other things. Yeah. The one thing that was the most strange to me was the Polish kid whose job it was to make sure that I didn't get hurt, even though I was already kind of getting protected from my Chinese friends. I was given a job. Everyone in prison is usually given some kind of a menial job, like you're the sweeper, you're the mopper, you have to work the kitchen, you clean up the cafeteria, you know, whatever. You're given a thing, right? I was actually given the job of emptying the trash cans outside of the cafeteria after every meal. And every meal I would make the show of going to the trash cans that would already be emptied, because he would do it. It was just like, okay. But I would have to still go and like act like I had done it. And he got stopped by a guard once doing it. And he just told them, like, no, he asked me to do it. He said his ankle was hurting, and the guard let it go. And my entire time, I never actually had to do the job. I didn't empty the trash can once, not once. Even when I wasn't even trying to use the guy. I was like, you know, I can. This is an easy enough task. I can do it every now and then. He was like, don't worry about it. I was asked to take care of it. We're good. And I'm like, okay. The guy who asked him to take care of it is a used car dealer here in town who, like, you know, there's a guy in every like city who's like the guy who stakes all the gamblers and then gets his high by all the other gamblers using his money. It was that guy. And he just like, so it turns out that he also meets a lot of criminal element being that guy. And he just reached out and said, you're going to take care of my friend. I didn't even know he liked me like that. I didn't even know like that we were that tight. Like I just knew him from playing poker with him all the time. Like he would come to some of the games and like had no clue he was going to do that for me. He never said anything afterward when I met him. Shook my hand and said, glad you got out safely. And I tried to thank him for it. He was like, don't mention it. So thanks, thanks, John. Yeah, good times. More prison stories. Oh boy. I still have my my prison ID card with my barcode and everything on it. I'll see if I can. I've got it in one of the drawers over there. I'll maybe find it before the next episode and show you guys a picture of like what it looks like and everything, because like it was required for me to go through any door. I did nearly get a real ass kicking from the guards on one day. So one of the big problems in these prisons is tuberculosis, TB, and scabies. Two of the problems, right? And they would have yeah, I was in an orange jumpsuit like nonstop. But they so they would bring a doctor in who would then have a little clinic, and it's one of the rooms. There's actually like a medical room, you know, at this prison. It's called FMC, Federal Medical. So it has the ability to be used like as hospital space. So they would have him come in, and then he would set up, and then you'd all get lined up against a wall, and one at a time you'd go in, and he'd check you for TB and for scabies. And just through like sheer like, you know, luck, I'm sitting there, I'm in the chair, I'm handcuffed behind my back because I'm in a room with a doctor with the guard outside of the room. And, you know, so my handcuffs are behind my back, and I'm sitting in this chair, kind of leaned back while he's doing shit. The power goes out at the prison. Now, this happened like a couple times a week. Like, it would blip, and it would only be out for a few seconds and then come back. We weren't lucky enough to have, like, all the doors open or anything stupid like that when it happened. But the power just blipped, and it was out for, like, 5 seconds. But I was actually hurting. Like, my hands did not feel good behind my back in this damn chair in cuffs. And I've got really long arms. Like, really long arms. So I just stood up real quick, put the handcuffs under my legs, and then sat back down with my hands in front of me. And so all the doctor saw was he was looking in my direction, lights go out, lights come back on, and now my hands are free. And I didn't realize, like, in my head, I wasn't thinking about how scared that must make a doctor, because he knows what wing of a prison he's in. He's in the one where, you know, it's full of murderers and shit. And he screams and runs for the door to get the guard to come in, who then runs in, pulls out like he's about to fucking baton my ass, and I'm just sitting there like, what? It hurts. And he grabs me by the neck and asked the doctor if he was done with me, and he said yes. And he just dragged me back, threw me in my cell, and I didn't get any outside time for the rest of the day. But it was just hurting. I wasn't trying to do anything, but like when I look back at it, I totally understand the doctor's actual reaction. Because like I can see it like almost movie-like the lights just blink,
he knew
and
you were
now
about to like murder him.
Right? Like the lights blink and your hands are now free. Like shit. But I had
lights are gonna blink again, and then like everything goes dark.
Right? Like, ugh. I can take a hit. Like, yeah, I mean, I could definitely take a hit. So if he had come and hit me with it, I would have been like, okay, that sucked, but like, you know, one of those things. Ugh. Yeah. So I don't know. What else you guys want to hear about? These are all kinds of like Friday is story night. It seems. Good times. Guy who wanted to box me, that was Mike Jones. This is a guy who claims to have been with Anonymous early, done a lot of stuff with us, and never did. No one knows who the fuck he is. Has put himself like all around us, gives talks about being early Anonymous and all that, and goes on TV and everything else, just does everything he can to attach himself to the Anonymous brand. And still to this day, like he did a talk like a month ago about being in Anonymous early. And my problem with what he's doing is like the work he's actually trying to get done is good work. In that I think that his work to help more people get into the level of kind of corporate penetration testing is only going to be better for all of us. It democratizes more of the learning. It gets more people skilled. It does a lot of good shit. But for some reason, he's decided to build it around this big lie. And so we fucked with him for a little bit. Kurt did a hell of a lot more fucking with him than I did, but that's because he still has a little more of that flair about him. As everyone knows, we all fucking love Kurt. But Mike's response was to block me on Twitter so I couldn't see it, and then while I was blocked, challenge me to a boxing match to settle it once and for all, with all proceeds going to charity, to make me look bad like I wasn't willing to do something for charity, all the while knowing I was completely blocked and would never see this. Yeah, I mean, talk about a pussy move. Like, wow. Ugh. Yeah, Mike Jones, definitely a phony. Yeah, I do think Kurt is still asleep. He hasn't responded to anyone anywhere. I'm in a few private chats with him, and he is not talking. So I'm hoping the sleep is good. I hope he's feeling it. If he wants to come on for any reason, like tomorrow night or something, I'll do a little extra. Yeah. nothing in that. Anyone got anything else? Like, I don't know. I don't have much in the way of other fun stories there. Yeah, his leg was killing him the other day. Let's see here. Good times. There's Isaiah. Yeah, so again, like next week, we'll see how well I do, but I'm hoping. Is Mac on Discord? No, Mac is avoiding us.
I am actually there. I'm usually in invisible mode, and I'm actually not really usually paying attention, which is why I'm usually in invisible mode. But you will see me around once in a while, and I am actually technically there.
What's your handle? Just Mac?
A Macguffin, I think.
A Macguffin is you. That's right.
Yeah.
Yes, because Mac stands for Macguffin, for anyone who does not know that. And if anyone doesn't know what a Macguffin is, it's a movie reference, not coined by but made famous by Alfred Hitchcock. A Macguffin is a funny thing. It is a plot device that isn't necessary, that pushes the plot forward simply by existing. And if that confuses you, there are some good examples of a MacGuffin. Rosebud in Citizen Kane is the original MacGuffin, right? It's not necessary for anything, but it's used to push the story forward.
Right. It's actually usually central to the plot. It just doesn't matter what it actually is.
In The Big Lebowski, the rug is the MacGuffin. In Pulp Fiction, the shining briefcase is the MacGuffin. Like, if you start to kind of think about it in those terms, you start to feel it out and figure out what's going on. MacGuffin doesn't have to be an object. I mean, in, like, the Maltese Falcon, it is the Falcon. But, like, it can be a human. There are stories where the MacGuffin is a human. But, that's, since we're doing origin story stuff, that's his handle, MacGuffin. We just shortened it to
I highly suggest Alfred Hitchcock has a story that's on video, I believe, explaining what a MacGuffin is for whenever he was asked the question, and it's just a thing of beauty.
It really is. And just I'll say this because it's out there anyways. But the company that we started to do our various web design work under and all the other things is actually named Macguffin Ventures. That's what we named it. Because why not? I think it's funny. But and if you actually go to MacGuffinVentures.com, it is horrible. I wrote it so clients wouldn't hire us. I mean, the MacGuffin in FP, I would think, is probably DDR. It just drives the story forward. But Snow Crash, it's a pizza, definitely. Yeah, I mean, there you go, right? Yeah. I don't know, MacGuffins, I've always found the term interesting, and Alfred Hitchcock's usage of them was, obviously he was one of the best. But yeah. So there we go. Now you have all of the history of Mac. Before that, he wasn't even born.
Yes, I only came into existence then.
He grew up the son of a poor coal miner. No, I don't. I don't know any of that story. Good times. What else does everyone want to hear about? What else do we got? You guys keep sending me down all kinds of fun paths here. Mike Jones is definitely giving your nation a bad name, Ruby, there. But so are so many other people in all of the nations. I mean, like, ugh, human nature. Servers to look for on eBay. It matters very specifically on what your use case is. If you just want general servers to, like, serve websites, stuff like that, ML350s are fine. If you want, like, the most cores and the most RAM you can fit in it for the best price, and you don't necessarily care that the memory speed is, like, milliseconds lagging compared to what it is today, then, some of the older Dell PowerEdge, are good. Gen 8 on the HP stuff. Ruby has some good suggestions there. I would say, I like the ProLiants. I'm a big fan of them, too. I have back here, I have mine, these, right here, those two wonderful things. And and I love them. That's literally sitting like right behind me, behind the green screen here, in my lack rack. These both have 384 gigs of RAM. They both have the top one has 80 cores, the bottom one has 40 cores, so 120 total cores there. It's a Dell on top and a Dell PowerEdge on top and a HP ProLiant on the bottom. And they're cheap. I mean, I got these all the way up. By the time I had the servers, the right CPUs in them, and 384 gigs of RAM, I was still only about $500 in for like powerhouse beasts. And that was like cost of both of them, like all of it. Like each one was like just like that price, because the RAM is still pretty cheap. Yeah, dude, ML350G8s are great. Like, they're basically the same thing as the one on the bottom there in terms of like their power. Mine's a generation behind that, but I did upgrade all the internals to as good as I could because those parts are getting so cheap now with so many data centers that have shut down. But yeah, ML350s are great. Good times. For anyone who hadn't seen it before, this is the two servers that sit behind me. And that stand that you see on top of it is actually the legs to my green screen. Oh, good times. Good old IKEA lack rack.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and a lot of people get the stuff from recovery. I have a couple friends who have done a lot of recovery on that type of stuff and ended up with way too many servers. And it's good stuff, definitely. I mean, yeah, Ruby, if you mean that, like Doxy, you should definitely talk. ML350s are great. But now, if RAM is really your thing and whatever you're doing is going to be heavily reliant on like memory caching, like Redis or something like that, and you kind of want to go with slightly newer stuff, but like it's only memory speed at that point. If literally, you're running MySQL, PostgreSQL, maybe a small caching layer, Nginx, then even like, servers from 2012 are still almost as fast as the stuff today. We really haven't made that much movement. So yeah, definitely. Yeah, streaming and web server stuff, definitely just get yourself, I mean, again, Ruby's right with the ML350s. They're totally fine. Dell PowerEdges are cheap as hell. I think these are this one right here is an 850 on the PowerEdge. Yeah. Good stuff. Yeah, and of course, if you find anything on eBay that you're questioning, definitely just pass it off to us. We'll give it a quick look and tell you whether it's like the legit thing you need or at the right price. Because you can find like especially like this 850 I have behind me. It was there were people selling it for $800-900 on there, and I just kept waiting. And a couple of weeks went by, and another data center, went down, and some reclaimer put up like 100 of them. And to get rid of them all, he listed them all at $300. And I grabbed one of them really quickly, as long as I had the patience, Yeah, definitely. Good times. And RAM for this stuff is cheap. I mean, it's so inexpensive. If you end up with something that takes DDR3, I have something like 500 gigs of it sitting right over there. Like, tons of chips, but these servers have, like, some of them upwards of 32 damn DIMM slots. So depending on what server you get, it doesn't matter that they're, like, all 4 gig chips, because you can fit a lot of them in there. Yeah. The one thing I will say about HP, though, is make sure that that you install stuff the HP way, at least on the G6s. Anything newer than the G8s, really. G8s are really well supported these days. But G6s and whatnot, you've got to go through some hoops to get the right builds of drivers for the install, for the network cards and all that fun stuff. And sometimes for the SATA or the SAS drives that are in there. For my G6 back here, I've got a Ubuntu server running on it, and to get that up and running, I had to actually put a CD in with the drivers merged in for the network card to get it to actually notice it. So just pay attention to that type of stuff. What else? What else are we talking about? News on the chip manufacturing? I mean, I'm just waiting to see what the Apple M2 does right now. Like, we're close to having the M2 out already. Like, they supposedly from the leaks, they're already at manufacturing capacity, ready to start actually putting out the M1X and the M2, it looks like, to the point where they could start selling it, like, you know, months from now once it's actually in stock. So, like, that could still be 8-9 months away, but the M1 is already, you know, in the freaking MacBook Air, and it's as powerful as the i7s and some of the lower end of the i9 range, and it's their low end version of this new chip. The M2 specs that we've seen in the leak from the ransomware group that hit Quanta show it being at least double the power, at a minimum, meaning that we'll have a mid-range CPU, the mid-range of Apple's layout for their coming products will be powerful than the most powerful server chip Intel makes, by orders of magnitude. And that's just freaking crazy. The other crazy thing is that supposedly they've already got 3-nanometer process working for the next gen chip that they'd be making. So while Intel is still fighting to get down to 5, Apple's already moved on to getting their manufacturing up to 3, which is just, it's insanity. Like, what the hell? We're getting down to the point where quantum effects are starting to affect what they're doing. Yeah. And so they're having to adjust for them. The 4-nanometer point, a lot of scientists, you know, even a decade ago were saying, like, we're going to get to 4-nanometer and we're going to have problems. The quantum effects are going to start making it where it's unreliable. And there's been some proofs and whatnot that were needed to get us down to 3. And it looks like Apple's gotten past all of that, because they say in their paperwork that leaks from the Quanta hack that they're there. That manufacturing will be starting, like, by end of year. That's nuts. Oh.
Yeah, I mean, IBM is also working on 2-nanometer, so allegedly that's coming a couple of years.
Yeah, they said that we are probably 2 or 3 years out from that, but that they have the sample process, you know, actually developed.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, at 2 nanometers, that's just fucking stupid. What are you even doing?
I mean, that's it's really impressive that, like, it was only maybe 5 years ago that they were like, yeah, man, we're gonna get down to like 4 nanometers, and then the
and it's over.
Are gonna be in. Like, it'll take a while. Like, we're just gonna hit like a wall in terms of development. And now we have 2 companies both already through that, working on a manufacturing, like, commercial process.
Now we smile and laugh because we all, you know, are tech people and we want the toys. But remember that the only reason Apple can afford to do this feat of engineering and give us these amazing freaking toys is because they stockpiled $300 billion in cash. That's a lot of money for someone to stockpile. Now they're using it for some interesting shit, but, like, maybe pay your taxes, maybe pay your fair share and all that fun stuff. Although I do want my M2. Like, as the tech guy, the tech kid in me wants the damn, you know, chips. And the activist to me is like, how the fuck did you stockpile 300? Oh, yeah, that's right. You don't pay taxes like you're supposed to. Yeah. That's why I keep hitting all those potholes. I don't know. You know, whatever. And all these homeless people are out there. Like, it's just, ugh. Good times.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. I am getting tired, everyone. What else are we going to talk about here? I'm always so prepared for Kurt to drive a lot of the conversation because he's just rowdy and fun. Yeah, it's very we all enjoy Kurt. So, like, yeah. Indeed. Yeah, no, I definitely want to play with something on the M2 chip just to see it. Some benchmarks have supposedly leaked of it, and it's faster than the fastest thing that Intel or AMD can sell you right now. And its GPU is nearly as good as the most expensive NVIDIA can sell you right now, too. That's all on one little itty-bitty chip, all on its own, using the new ARM v9 extensions. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy. Imagine, like, an array of, like, 40 of those chips. Yeah, Caitlyn Jenner talking about all of her friends wanting to move to Arizona because they're sick of seeing homeless people, instead of maybe thinking, wow, I'm the rich one not paying my taxes, so we don't have any systems in place to help these people. Yeah, no, like how disconnected Caitlyn Jenner is from any form of reality that matters or any real form of humanity that matters is disgusting.
Look, all I know is that I get all of my takes on like social political commentary from the people with private hangars across from mine at the airport.
Yeah, exactly. Wow. Yeah. I mean, just holy shit. The privilege there, it's just it blows my mind.
Right? It's crazy.
Whew. Hey everyone. I'm starting to get tired here. I think I'm gonna call this one a night here. I don't think Kurt's gonna make it to us. But like I said, if Kurt actually does wake up for tomorrow and wants to do a show tomorrow night, I'm happy to do it. Otherwise, he might just game and we'll do a thing where we rate him, all that fun stuff. Why build that when you can just fly between two places in LA? Like it's ugh. It makes no sense. No sense at all.
No.
Yeah, and if there's anything else like that, any of those stories that like we talked that we went through tonight lead you to want to ask about, by all means, like next time, next show, ask. I'm definitely up for telling more. My memory is a little weird in terms of like I don't just have straight access to an organized list of everything in there. Like I can't just recall this year, this month, but like if you trigger like, oh yeah, I remember that day, I'll tell that story. So the right questions can get all kinds of crazy shit out of this head of mine. So I'm happy to tell more stories if people ask the right questions here. Good times, everyone. We are going to call it an evening. I want to say good night to everyone. Thanks for all the subs. Thanks Ruby. Thanks Doxy. Thanks Quiet One. Thanks everyone in chat. Good job on solving the problem earlier, Jerry. I know you're not with us at this point. You've gone off to better things. But good night, everyone. Here we go.